Broadcasting live from the backstretch at Saratoga, this is the Handicappers Report. Brought to you by CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today. And the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. Make it to the Clubhouse Racebook.
Good morning.
Must be us. I see us. Must be us.
Good morning.
Yes.
Welcome to the Saratoga Backstretch, live from Saratoga, kicking off another season up here. We had a couple of shakeout shows Saturday and Sunday. But now
I think we need more shaking.
Officially. Nice Wednesday.
Tremendous already.
And boy, when I was in here Sunday, I needed a parka, but the weather today is gorgeous. Temperature's great. It's sunny out here. So looking forward to a big Belmont Stakes week up here at Saratoga. You ready?
Yes. This is beautiful for all the upstaters. I mean, it's been really a not very good spring at all. And as Seth mentioned on Sunday, June 1st, he's wearing a parka in the morning. I'm wearing a sweatshirt at night before the sun goes down. And for those folks who know me, it's like I wear a pair of shorts in the wintertime. So, but today is a perfect June day. And, and also, by the way, it seems to be seeping out that we'll be doing this again next year. It was pretty obvious like a year ago, but they didn't say anything. But now it really seems as if we'll have one more go round, but having the Belmont Stakes at 1.25 miles at Saratoga, and then seems like September of 26. We know at least by September of 27 they're going to need to be ready because they're going to have the Breeders' Cup. So that should be interesting, and I'm looking forward to it. It seems like they made a design that's perfect for today's racing and gave themselves an ability, obviously, to host the Breeders' Cup and the Belmont Stakes, particularly when the Triple Crown is on the line for a lot of fans to come down, which is nice.
That news came out last week. Breeders' Cup to Belmont 2027, next year 2026, Keeneland. So a couple of
went to
popular
Keeneland again
venues.
With the wife and the son.
We talked. Somebody knew that. Somebody saw you maybe, or
I saw some people, but by the way, kudos for I might have mentioned it when we did our Kentucky Derby seminar when 2/3 of the panel got the Derby right. So that. But
nice price too.
Yes, and my wife loved it, and they're well down the road building whatever it is they're building to host the Breeders' Cup. And I say that because, and I've said this before, and for our new viewers, Keeneland is flawless. So when I say this next part, you need to understand that's my opinion of Keeneland. You can't see the racing, like live racing. It's behind the building that's the grandstand and the clubhouse to see the racing live. So it's definitely another one of those things where it's about creature comforts, being in the moment, and having a party. And the reason I bring this up is two reasons. One is I want to thank Mr. Phillips of Darby Dan Farm, who hosted our family on one day, and I got a tour of Darby Dan, one of the great days of my life. But secondly, I'm sure you saw this, Seth, but the Rams are going to play a game in London on Sunday, October 19th. I wasn't that excited until it dawned on me, middle of October, Champions Day on Saturday at Ascot. So now I am very enthused, and there's a very high probability I get to, not Royal Ascot, because that's in a couple days, but the fall meeting, that Champions meet is on Saturday.
You probably don't need the top hat for that.
You do not need the top hat. And the reason I bring it up is because I've already done some price looking and it came to mind thinking about Keeneland, where they're going to have this room, and I'm sure it's going to be, if you've ever looked at any of these tour packages for big days around the world, where it's basically a party. You get a table and it's very well done, but you're not sitting at the eighth hole with your $2 Exacta box going crazy. So But Keeneland's beautiful. We had a great time.
Yeah, Keeneland's very nice.
Yes.
Nobody's been down. To me, it's like a modernized Saratoga in that the crowd is very similar. You get a good, knowledgeable crowd there.
I told you, my wife couldn't believe it until she got there. There's a doorman at the gift shop. No, two in your party, right this way. It's the point is the gift shop's very popular.
That's a step up. And we haven't talked since that. We haven't been on the air since that Kentucky Derby seminar. So I'll ask you, and I think it's appropriate here on the first day of Saratoga. I've talked about it obviously over the past couple of weeks, but the passing of Christophe Clement. I mean, a New York fixture, and 59, just way too young. And the outpouring on social media was just incredible. But I think the racing community as a whole is feeling he will be missed. Let me put it that way.
A good guy. I mean, it's a tragedy on multiple fronts. He's young man, very nice guy, outstanding trainer, etc. And I think not that it matters at all, but I mean, did you know he wasn't feeling well?
I had heard rumblings.
Right.
Yeah,
I did not.
I think it was kind of being kept quiet. A lot of people said
absolutely personal.
They weren't aware, but it was
so. Yes, we will
really sad news.
Miss him, and just an outstanding trainer. I mean, for the longest time, I'll say we as a collective group, like his first 10 years here, turf horses. I mean, that was just his game. And there was a time at which I used to say that only he and Bobby Frankel would get those imports laid off like 9 months and they would win. They were the only, now Chad Brown's obviously in that group and others, but, a terrific man. We, sympathies to the family, etc.
Yeah.
As you said, terrific person, way too long, way too early.
New York fixture, as I say.
Yeah.
All right. I kicked off the week nicely with the Belmont at Saratoga post-position draw Monday night downtown. It was at the Universal Preservation Hall. And then I was right back there last night for Embrace the Belmont. We had a handicapping seminar. I was on the panel with Sarah Elbadwe and Matt DeSantis from Naira. Donna Brothers emceed, and really good crowd.
Who'd you give out?
I gave out Sovereignty. I liked him in the Derby, and I like him again. There's our man Tom Amello.
My goodness.
Everybody's gonna be showing up for opening day.
We have like 3 opening days this year.
Yeah,
it's fantastic for somebody like me who's trying to grab as many as he can in the 60s.
But yeah, it was a couple of nice nights. We'll have coming up at 10 o'clock, Racing Across America. Nice show. Have Aaron Wellman from Eclipse Thoroughbred Partners, obviously journalism. We'll talk with him. Sean Clancy will come by. We'll preview the jump race a little bit. He has a runner in there, too. The Grade 1 that's going to kick off the meet, the Grade 1 jump race with Sean, and also talk about milestone year for the Saratoga Special. And then Jack Knowlton will join us from Saratoga. They have 3 runs. It's New York Showcase Day. So featuring the New York breds, they have 3 in today and then 1 in either tomorrow or Friday. So we'll talk to some of the Saratoga runners. And then I have some video from Monday night because I caught up with Bill Mott and John Sheriffs at the draw Monday night downtown. So we'll play a little of that coming up at 10 o'clock. Let me just hit you with the promos that are coming up over the next few days. Friday, the Bounty Bet returns. It'll obviously be focused here on Saratoga. It'll be the late pick 5 here at Saratoga on Friday. Play with your Capital OTB bet account. You're in for a shot at the Bounty on Friday. Saturday, Clubhouse Racebook. There's a player's bankroll. You can have a little extra fun with the player's bankroll where the players on the bankroll team get to make the wagers. So everybody on the team will get some money in a race, and then the winnings get split up at the end of the day. That's Saturday at the Racebook. Same spot that on Saturday, King of the Hill contest. So Belmont Stakes Day. If you can't make it up here, maybe swing by the Racebook down in Albany and enjoy the day, 711 Central Avenue. All right.
You might have to nudge me. These new chairs are so comfortable. I could,
mine's
about the middle of the meat is what I'm going to call it. I might doze one morning. These are, for me, you seem to be not as enthusiastic.
Here, I think the table is different. I don't notice it as much here. When I'm down in the studio in Albany, it felt like it was about I felt like my elbows were up a little too high, so I'm sitting on a.
So I'm confused.
Cushion.
Do you like these or not?
No, I like them.
Okay, because I mean,
they're just a little.
I mean,
even at the highest level,
right.
because they adjust. But yeah, I like.
This is the.
No, I like them because the old ones, I'd be sitting in the middle of a segment, and all of a sudden I would start.
I remember.
So, yeah.
You see that?
So I like them.
Now this is my 30th summer, 28th consecutively, and I started with hard plastic ones that were not made for doing television. And one of the few things I learned quickly was I learned to sit on the edge of it, so I had a better view. I mean, these things were meant to be enjoyed at your backyard on a day like today, not for television. So I learned, you better sit on the edge of it. But these are perfect. So, and by the way, just a couple things. The math figures, so I'm not upset, but take it from me that the year that I hit the Kentucky Derby cold, it's just moderate pricing. I mean, which is the right price, but usually it's bonanza, etc. So, but I'm very intrigued. And one point I just want to make, it's not like an argument I have, but all the talk about the Preakness, right? And this is what I've maintained before. I don't have an opinion about tradition or anything, because I think if you look up in the 60s, it wasn't 3 weeks between, none of that stuff. But I want the Preakness to be a great race. I think the purse is wrong. That's something for Merrow to figure out. But I want it to be like 92.5% of the Kentucky Derby, not whatever number you want to assign it. I'm not assigning, my point, and I've said this before. If it's 4 or 5 weeks later and it's $4 million, I think it's a completely different race. And by that, I mean better. I do not make the argument. I believe the Triple Crown would be harder because the Preakness would be a much bigger mountain to conquer.
I can go either way, and I was on that argument too. And you are right. I don't agree on. Oh, it's supposed to be hard. It would be harder. Wait 1 second.
Okay.
Because my point is, well, now we're 5 weeks out from the Derby, and we only have one Derby horse in the Belmont.
Okay.
At a mile and a quarter to boot,
right.
And so I'm not sure spacing it out.
Now here really you go. You talk. Here's the example I'll make. Then you talk to the people around the business in your the second hour of these shows. If it was $4 million and 4 weeks later, you think
the purse may make it, but I don't know if the purse is going to.
And Sovereignty will run?
The purse would make a difference. I just don't know whether realistically we can expect $4 million.
You think Godolphin was worried about the purse?
I think
they were worried about the timing.
I think if you put up $4 million, you would. Oh, this year, yeah, because I don't. But would they have made a difference? That's a good question.
We'll see. But the bell. I mean, one thing we'll say. I mean, the mile and a half is a test of the champion, but it's an anachronism. I think these Belmonts that we're going to have at the end of the day, 3 of them, make for tremendous races. Even if a Triple Crown isn't on the line, because it's the American Classic dirt distance.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting. But you're staying with Sovereignty. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
All right, you ready to roll?
Yes. Well, I'm in for 3 seconds on the first race. Do you remember in the middle 90s when the meet kicked off with jump races?
Oh, I remember you would have far more jump races, they would be later in the card. Now they're always the first race.
Yeah, they used to be 4 and 6, and when Steve Chris got it out of the pick 6, and we opened on Fridays, it kicked off the meet like 3 years in a row. It's a grade 1. I'm 251. Seth will enlighten you much more than me.
Yeah, it's the Beverly Steinman. Last year was supposed to kick off the meet. Weather postponed it. They ran it later on. But $150,000 up for grabs. I'm 3, 2, 1, and 7. Number 3 is Auction King. Up here at Saratoga, it's worth keeping in mind because we will have some of these steeplechase races, which I enjoy.
Yes, he does.
But this one comes out of a race down at the Radnor Hunt meet down in Malvern, Pennsylvania. That's the MAL. And it was a pretty good try then. 1, 2 starts back. But more importantly, what I was going to say, what you have to keep in mind up here, look back at some of these horses and look at the record over a actual racetrack configuration, because these hunt meets are very different with how they're configured. But this one, you go back and had a couple of good races last year when Colonial was running a number of jump races during their meet. So a little bit proven over a racetrack situation. You have some decent odds here on the morning line. I'll take a pop with Auction Kingdom. I mentioned earlier Sean Clancy will be on in the next hour. His River D Stables got a grade 1 up here at Saratoga in the Jonathan Shepard a couple of years ago with Awakened, and Awakened is back, having come out of the last start in this Beverly Steinman that was delayed last year. So off since last June, and then Carloon in the third spot, Kerry Brian Trainer, and coming out of a pulled up event in the most recent start, the seasonal debut. But another one, you go back to last year, there's good race over a racetrack kind of a configuration. So for me, in the opener, 3, 2, 1, and 7.
I think I saw on X that this is the 25th year of the Saratoga Special. So kudos to that gang.
No, milestone. Yeah,
that's quite an achievement, especially in today's era of print media.
Yeah.
Is the Big Apple Triple still a thing?
No,
it isn't.
Unfortunately.
Oh,
I mean, they still have the 3 races, but it's not.
Oh, this used to be a bear of a race. You'd be like 12, 13 horses entered into the Mike Lee, as Seth said, New York Breeders' Showcase Day. 3-year-olds going 7/8.
Yeah, it used to be the Mike Lee, the New York Derby, and then the Albany. And the Mike Lee would be downstate. New York Derby at the Finger Lakes, and then the Albany up here at Saratoga. So they still run the races. They just don't have the designation for the triple bonus anymore. I'm at 3, 6, 5, and 1, but there is a caveat in here. Prince Valiant on top. Hard to knock the record so far. Ran third in the debut effort behind the talented Sand Devil. Then ripped off 3 straight wins, including a nice daylight win last time in Stakes Company. Now stretches out a little bit today, but boy, has looked pretty good so far. Moplex probably would have been the one to beat, and certainly this one's shown plenty of talent before, but it was announced within the last few days that the barn Moplex is in, the Jeremiah Engelhardt barn, I think there's another maybe trainer in there, was under quarantine. So the anticipation was Moplex would be scratched. Now, I haven't heard anything officially, so I still had Moplex underneath, but that Moplex may not run. Train the Trainer in the third spot off a nice win to break the maiden and only the second career start. Could be a budding horse to keep our eyes on. For me, in the second to Mike Lee, 3, 6, 5, and 1.
Yeah, I haven't done Saturday's card yet, Seth, but I have to tell you, the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday cards, they were difficult for me, but they were extremely enjoyable races to handicap. And this race is, for me, is typical of, well, what we're running 14 races a day. No, only kidding. So the first 36 races,
partially kidding.
Yes, the first 36 races I handicapped, I found very contentious. And my rule of thumb with our viewers is, if the favorite, the second choice, doesn't really jump out at you when you're looking, when you come to making an on-top pick, you can't choose them. They're supposed to stick out because you're not going to get the price usually. And I will bet you on at least 27, 26 of the next 33, 34 races I've done were all like this. And I enjoy that. So I am 2, 1, 6. Seth mentioned Moplex. Is that still like under the heading of the United States Department of Agriculture? Quarantines
I don't know.
That's a big thing at a racetrack. So there'll be more official news. But so I looked at this race. I'm going against an open company winner. Seth mentioned Prince Valiant. I think they're very contentious, and Calling Card has to run the race of the life. But I think 7/8 on the dirt, the race of the life was going the 1-turn mile at Aqueduct. So I need multiple things to break my way. Don't get me wrong here. But, that's why they give you more money. And then for second, Soon to Be King, I think is very contentious in here. The 1-hole going 7/8 and Moplex if he stays in. We'll see. Prince Valiant. One thing I'll say, Seth, and I'm almost going to call it the Hoosier Philly angle, and I mentioned this at the seminar, where you have taught me correctly about the power in the betting windows of the Beyer speed figures. Yet I find myself now believing that how many times the disparity is so great, but the numbers are like much closer. And my idea is that Seth is right, and they're going to pound the better buyer speed figures at the windows, and I want the longer price ones on horses that I believe are competitive.
All right, race number 3 this afternoon. We are looking at again. It's New York Bred Showcase Day. State bred maiden specials will go 5.5 on the grass, and I will note, should the also eligible get in, it's our friends at Eddie F's. Always like to root for the locals.
Yes.
But your thoughts on race 3?
11, 4, and 3. Just add water. I like the debut at 8-1. We're on the outside. Didn't display an early turn of foot, but displayed a early turn of foot to get good positioning. We'll see in the second start if we're good enough with Jose Lescano back aboard. So I said 11, 4, 3. So, Seth has reverse exacta here. Miss Impulsive. So Miss Impulsive, very good. Sharp on debut. Katie Davis runner, that was 5-1. You're going to get less than that. And for third, Alpine Giant, I'm tossing out the race from last summer. And I think he can do that with, the horse hasn't run since August 14th. So Spicetown, a brilliant runner, champion sprinter, and a outstanding stallion. So 11, 4, 3.
Again, I have it flip-flopped at 4, 11, 6, and 10. Miss Impulsive on top for me off the good-looking debut. And with Into Mischief on top, there's some win early breeding and now some experience under the belt. But Just Add Water were similar in the, a little bit of breeding and a pretty good debut effort. I will say Miss Impulsive debuted on the turf. So this is the old Harvey Pack. Maybe don't jump on somebody trying something for the first time, but I just thought with the breeding and the debut effort, I'll go with Miss Impulsive. But Just Add Water, the debut was on the turf. Chad Summers and Gold Square Racing. So always, the names are always a little bit clever. Just Add Water. And then in the third spot, Vino Samara, Mark Hennig trainee, that I think if you get you were 12-1 on the morning line, I think this horse can kind of be a player. Only a couple of starts this year, one in February, one in April. Both were on the dirt. One was an off the turfer. They debuted the horse on the turf. So getting back to the turf now, after not having been on since the debut effort, I could see some improvement there. So in the third, I have 4, 11, 6, and 10.
Now, before we get to your dark horse play, did I tell you that I waved to Into Mischief?
You way back?
No, but as I said, Mr. Phillips, Darby Dan, we went to a beautiful party, and when I went to Keeneland the first time, it was more like a hit and run type thing. I into town, boom, Calumet, boom, out of town, going up to Cleveland. This time I was in Lexington for 3 nights, and the farms just pop up everywhere. And we're coming back on nice country road. It was paved country road, and there's like nice brick wall. Spendthrift. I go, let's stop in and see the big guy who produced his second Derby winner.
Yeah,
that's a short list, isn't it? A sires that Halo is about the only one that comes to mind for me.
And then he was the sire.
Aludar and Halo are the two that
wasn't
I
he the
think.
Sire of another? Didn't he have maybe a grandson win too?
Oh, you think he's had a son produced?
I'm trying to think because I was looking up something on that line before the Derby. I'd have to go back.
Look that up. You got the first of the season, we'll call it. Dark Horse Play of the Day?
I do. Dark Horse Play of the Day, brought to you by the Dark Horse Mercantile Inn and Impressions of Saratoga in downtown Saratoga. Memorial Day week, I was on fuego, as they say, 4 for 6, and Memorial Day we had a nice $19 winner. So we're now guaranteed. We've been doing this since before Wednesday before the Kentucky Derby. We'll go to this Sunday. So they're sponsored through the Triple Crown season. I'll jump back on again for traditional Saratoga. But I've guaranteed a positive ROI on the win side. Now I'm
forget the golf clap.
Trying to jump up the place and show prices as well.
Last
week, that's what I had. I had a couple of places that I had a
that's couple
that were tough beats. But we'll see if we can get. This one's interesting to me. 7th race today at Saratoga, mile and a 16th. It's the Kingston Stakes action on the grass. I'm going to put Jack Knowlton's Saratoga's Union Trail on top, looking for maybe a pace scenario where this horse can kind of sneak away. And we're looking at 12-1 on the morning line. But you have Luis Saez on board. This horse ran some nice races down at Gulfstream with Lionel Reyes on board, who was bringing in some nice prices on the turf this winter. And this was a horse that he rode to some good efforts again this season down at Gulfstream, Lionel Reyes. But certainly Luis Saez is a plus as well. You look at the field, there's maybe a couple others that can offer a little punch early, but I think overall Union Trail may be the one that gets out to the front. Speed is always dangerous, so I'm going to put that one on top. And again, hope we get close to that morning line. Our dark horse play of the day for this Wednesday afternoon. We'll go to race number 7 at Saratoga, and it'll be horse number 6, Union Trail. Again, thanks to our friends at the Dark Horse Mercantile and Impressions of Saratoga for sponsoring the Dark Horse Play of the Day.
Take our first break. When we come back, more from Saratoga.
Horse Mercantile. The Dark Horse Mercantile offers a carefully curated selection of clothing, gifts, and home decor, from one-of-a-kind vintage racing memorabilia to select brands like Barber and Under Armour, as well as exclusive Dark Horse branded merchandise. So celebrate the Dark Horse in all of us at the Dark Horse Mercantile, downtown Saratoga, where the smart bet is always the Dark Horse.
And buy DePaula. Just visit, call, or click. Get no worry pricing and 000 savings on every new Chevy car, truck, and SUV. Delivering value since 1980. DePaulaChevrolet.com.
A day at the track isn't complete without a night at the Horseshoe. Great food, hot music, and cold drinks. So why go downtown when all the action's just across from the track? The Horseshoe Inn at the corner of Nelson and Gridley.
There's no better time to think DePaula and buy DePaula. Just visit, call, or click. Get no worry pricing and 000 savings on every new Chevy car, truck, and SUV. Delivering value since 1980. DePaulaChevrolet.com.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, live from Clare Court, the backstretch at Saratoga. And one of the great double-edged swords, Seth, for me is telling the folks how beautiful and grand it is back here. And it's not public access, so that kind of a rub. But this is, and this will probably be bad television, but it wouldn't be the first time. It's officially not the official season because they haven't heralded Clare Court.
Over the weekend, there was nobody out there really, but there was a horse this morning as I drove past.
But they haven't heralded it. That's when you can tell we're really here. Fourth race on the card, continuing. I'll tell you one thing. If you go on Equibase.com and you put in commentator, who was a terrific runner, but one of the most interesting past performances. Seth, when he ran against New York Breds, I think his average winning margin was like 12 lengths. And in his record against Open Company, other than that brilliant ride in the Whitney, I mean, it's so disparate. And the other thing, this I'm not positive about. I think he's one of those runners that when they broke their maiden was the only firster. That's kind of a stat that I keep because I think you're giving away so much. So you got to do it on talent. But I think that's the case. The commentator, a mile and an eighth.
8, 7, 6, and 1 up with Bank Frenzy on top. Kind of master of the obvious here, but shown a little affinity for Saratoga. He won the Shipman here last year. Goes out for Rudy off a try in the Westchester last time and ran fourth. But just before that was in a state bred stakes and won that. Won the Open Stymie before that. Stretches to the 2 turns today. I don't think that's going to be an obstacle. Empire Classic last year ran the mile and an eighth and was a good second in that one. So I'll go with Bank Frenzy. General Banker in the second spot. Also ran fourth against Open Company last time. It was an optional claimer, but 2 back in the Haynesfield. A state-bred stake ran an okay second behind Bank Frenzy. Third spot, Lock and Key. Comes in off third place finish in the Haynesfield behind the top 2. So I'm kind of looking for a repeat of that Haynesfield performance with these 2 running 1, 2, 3 in there. We'll see if they do the same this afternoon. Mama's Gold, I didn't know what to do. You go back and there are a couple of kind of eye-popping triple-digit performances at the end of last year. Hasn't quite lived up to that this year, though. But I'm going to be interested to see what the 1 does. I have it 8, 7, 6, and 1.
I'm intrigued also. I can't call it the Baby Yoda angle because he paired it up. You know, he did it again, but it's very intriguing. I'm 5, 8, 7 here. The race goes through Bank Frenzy. But if you look at the Saratoga races for Drake's Passage, and this is only the second start since late October, those numbers are competitive. And I think, Miguel Clement, I think we're going to get a better price than 4-1. And I'm thinking we're going to get a worse price on Bank Frenzy. So I see almost 5-1 and maybe 6-5 or even money. And yes, I need to return to Saratoga form. It is a little bit of a reach, but I think the seasonal debut race, to me, that just reeks of practice. So I don't have any opinions on the 79. I'm just hoping I get a Saratoga revival, looking at maybe $10 on the horse, and that's Drake's Passage for me.
I will say, I don't mean to interrupt,
no,
but just noting the seasonal debut. One of the things I look at, and I looked at Drake's Passage, but last year kicked off the season in fine fashion, a 99 buyer, and then he came back in the second start to win this race with a 99 buyer. So that the seasonal debut wasn't quite as good this year kind of scared me away a little bit.
Yes, that's reasonable. I mean, it's the third race since August 3rd isn't doesn't hit me between the eyes. Bank Frenzy, I think the race goes through an effort in the Open Company Westchester that, I think I said this at the Derby seminar. One of the things I very much like about the Buyer Speed Figure is pick the number you think we're going to win the race. And do you think your horse can run that race? Bank Frenzy, probably in a losing effort in the last, that might be the ballpark to win here today. 5, 8, 7 for me with General Banker for third.
Race number 5 this afternoon, we're looking at state-bred allowance runners, non-winners at 1 other than. They are on the turf at 8.5 furlongs.
3 days worth of races like this to handicap and wager. 5, 2, 4 for me. Courtly Banker going to be a big price in here. I love the return to the races effort. And I think a number like an 82 or an 84 can win. And I think I'm not concerned with the 68. I'm actually kind of okay with that. That's all right. Ran a little, tired, comes back today. Katie Davis gets them out. Pay the juice. Great line for August Dawn Farm. I wouldn't think Bill Parcells would know anything about gambling with the juice and stuff. But to me, very tough in here. Heck to pay. And then sounds like a plan taking blinkers off, which is intriguing because I think the efforts are pretty good with the blinkers on. 5, 2, 4. That's one of the rare times for me, Seth. I would like to ask the trainer a question because I don't think there's any reason for them to not tell the truth. They, just say because these are pretty good efforts on paper. But 5, 2, 4.
2, 4, 6, and 10 for me. I did go with Pay the Juice, and for folks who aren't familiar, August Dawn Farm, the nom de plume of Bill Parcells. Shug McGahee, trainee, coming in off an April effort that was the first start since January. So had a little bit of a layoff there, but came back, I thought, with a pretty good effort, a promising effort that says maybe we step forward today. Flavian Prat jumps on board. That attracted my attention as well. I'll put that one on top. Second spot sounds like a plan. Blinkers off is interesting, but more interesting to me, and I otherwise might have put this horse on top, trying older for the first time. That's always a little bit of an ask. This horse is a 3-year-old and moves in against older company today. And Toscano in the third spot. A couple of off-the-turfers most recently, but otherwise indicating they'd like to try the turf, but they haven't been on it at all. So it's trying something now for the first time. But it's Mike Maker, Jose Ortiz, interesting on a number of aspects. And I think one of those will be a price, which I think 6-1 on the morning line. I think we'll get a little bit of value if we wanted to play around. Fifth race, 2, 4, 6, and 10.
We'll be right back with the second half of today's action from Saratoga.
For more than 4 generations, Bruce Cerrone and his family have continued the 103-year tradition of delighting their local following and faithful summer crowd with the finest authentic Italian recipes. Classic Italian dishes made with the freshest ingredients, served in a home-like setting. Some things have changed in the last 103 years, but not Pinnell's commitment to the finest in Italian cuisine. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, just minutes from the track.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
You're up.
It's me.
Yeah.
We're up. It's like being at the old toll booth. Your turn to pay. But the Bowery for the Phillies and Merrows going 7-8. Quick story about the Bowery. I'm not saying it cemented me, but I think it was the second handicapping show I did. Gave out Patty's Positive, who I think paid more than $30.
There you go.
Kind of made the path that I was going to. But Patty's Positive, I think, was this is the 28th consecutive year of handicapping. And I think that was the second show I did. So it would have been like middle of July when I won. But this is for the State Bred Phillies sprinting.
2, 5, 7, and 8. I'll put Bernie and the Rose on top. How do you knock it? 4 wins in 5 career starts and a third. Third was in the first start of the career and just missed there. You can always forgive that debut effort, but it's been a winner ever since, including state bred stakes races. So couldn't get past this one. I'll put that one on top. Accelerating in the second spot, Steve Asmussen, trainee, down with Asmussen at Oaklawn. Being a New York bred, maybe a little bit overmatched down there. Tried stakes race to kick off the season and then was in a high-priced optional claimer. As I say, didn't fare too well down there. But you look back at the 2 races right up here last year against New York breds. I'll look for a rebound there. And in the third spot, K-Cup, the morning line favorite. And I understand it. Debut effort up here at Saratoga last year was okay, one to build on. And one of those horses I talk about often in situations like this. Got the career debut as a 2-year-old, showed a little bit of promise, then a long layoff and came back as an improved 3-year-old. And off of that improvement, I think is logical as a player here. 2, 5, 7, and 8.
I'm 5, 2, 7. Accelerating race very well at Saratoga previously. This will be the 3rd start of the year. Bernie and the Rose, as Seth mentioned, been so sharp. Even on debut when you lose, good. And then K-Cup, my one thought is you're going to get the worst of it, the price. And I know the race was April 27th, so that's a good window. Less chance of muscle regression, but not a short price for me. 5, 2, 7.
7th race this afternoon. It is the Kingston $200,000 up for grabs, 4-year-olds and up, going a mile and 16th on the turf.
I'm 110 and 9 from the inside the rail. We would think that there'd be no rails for this week, right?
That's
I mean,
hard
there's
to
no
predict. It would seem like
there's
5
no reason
days.
and then won't be back for a month. And that's a big thing. We'll get, about the timing mechanism and everything. It's all coming together. I think, draws the inside. You just need an opportunity early to get good position. And I think if you do that, it turns out to be a huge advantage. Now, the worst thing is you don't break well, you stutter, and all of a sudden you're 8th, and there's 4 horses in front of you in the path. So it's a risk versus reward. But I'm going to take the chance in the second start of the year. Now, the comeback race was really good. The benefit for me was that was March 29th. So I think we have the chance to repeat it. Born Dancer for second on the outside. Beaten favorite down at Aqueduct, but I like the move coming into the Kingston. And then Hush of a Storm for Brad Cox and the brilliant Flavian Prat. 110.9 in the Kingston.
6, 9, 5, and 3 for me. Again, my dark horse play was Union Trail. I mentioned before. I think maybe just with the pace scenario, maybe very interesting today on the front end. It's one of those we'll have a pretty good idea by the time they hit the backstretch. If this horse has a little bit of a lead with maybe some daylight there, as opposed the horse is going to be out in front unless something drastic goes wrong, or we'll be right there. But will somebody be breathing down his neck as they hit the backstretch? That's what we'll see. But I think he may have the opportunity to take them all the way. Hush of a Storm in the second spot. Brad Cox, trainee, that gets back in against New York Breds after having spent a couple of starts down at Turfway this winter in stakes action, then came back to New York last time but faced Open Company. I think should appreciate getting back with his friends, as it were. And then Mark Cassie has Clear Conscience, who ran a good close-up second last time in a seasonal debut. And I think off of that becomes very interesting in here as well. 7th race, 6, 9, 5, and 3.
The 8th race is the Critical Eye. Do you remember her?
Vaguely. I definitely.
Scott Schwartz. I think it was the Schwartz family. Pink silks, maybe white polka dots. But the reason I mention her is because Seth and I are about the same age, and we kind of remember the New York Bred program, its start, everything. I think when it was starting to hit the next level of competitiveness, I think she won a grade 1. And that was like, and obviously the New York Reds have gotten so good the last 20 years. But the beginning was a little slow. But Critical Eye was a solid campaigner in Open Company. I want to say 2000. I want to say the turn of the century. But that she was a grade 1 winner.
Up, but for me, I always bring up the turning point was Fiorito.
That was the moment.
And somebody on Twitter the other day said, when does it ever work out that a horse breaks through the gate and runs
argument.
Well?
I always say to people when they break through the gate and they get scratched, and people bemoan it, I go, they saved you money because it's got to be less than 5%.
Yeah,
we've talked. I
agree with that totally. To me, the guy was making a good point, except that one of the first responses was, "Well, Fiorito did okay in the Whitney as a New York bred coming in from Finger Lakes with Les Hewlett on board." But yeah, for the most part.
Now what's funny about that is,
which maybe makes the performance all that
absolutely
much more spectacular for Fiorito.
That's why no one talks about this part of Seattle Slew's Jockey Club Gold Cup. I think he broke through the gate. He didn't. They always talk about the duel with Affirm, the saddle slipping, and Exceller. But I think the Slew burst through the gate and had to be walked back around. But the Critical Eye.
8, 4, 6, and 2. And again, this is another one with a caveat. I'll put 8 on top. Sterling Silver goes out for Bill Mott, Junior Alvarado on board. A couple of starts this year. Biagio's Rose, the stakes race to start the season, nice win. And then second last time in a grade 2 against Open Company. So third start back off a couple good promising efforts. Short price on the morning line, but deservedly so off those first 2. Peanut or Pickle in the second spot. Nice win last time that I think has this horse set up nicely. Just seemed that it was a lifetime best buyer. We get maybe a little bit of value. Comes in with a bullet workout. I think this one could be interesting. And then, as I said, a caveat, landed in the third spot. But Dave Grenig the other day, a couple of days ago, reported that Wesley Ward said there was a throat irritation that would caused Landed to be scratched. So again, there's nothing official, so I left the horse in the mix. But if that one does scratch, pull in Amanda's Folly for Linda Rice, who I think could be a player in the seasonal debut. 8, 4, 6, and 2.
4-8-2 for me. This was a reach. I mean, to me, this is one of reach. Reach defines it perfectly. Peanut Pickle has to. I'm not even so sure if she improves enough to win, going 2 turns for the first time, which is a risk. But you got the Curlin Uncle Mo grandsires. That's kind of believable. But Sterling Silver is really sharp. So I'm going to need a couple of things to go my way. And then Amanda's Folly making the seasonal debut for Linda Rice. The Critical Eye, 4, 8, and 2.
All right, another break, right?
Yes.
Time for another break.
We
will come back and wrap things up momentarily, so stay tuned.
For more than 4 generations, Bruce Cerrone and his family have continued the 103-year tradition of delighting their local following and faithful summer crowd with the finest authentic Italian recipes. Classic Italian dishes made with the freshest ingredients, served in a home-like setting. Some things have changed in the last 103 years, but not Pinnell's commitment to the finest in Italian cuisine. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, just minutes from the track.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report as we kick off Belmont at Saratoga Week live right in front of Clare Court. Should be a lot of fun. And don't forget, 10 o'clock racing across America. Aaron Wellman, Eclipse Thoroughbred Partners, journalism, and they have a number of other entrants in the upcoming stakes here at Saratoga. Sean Clancy, Saratoga Special, with a milestone year, but also he has a horse in the jump race today in the Grade 1 that'll kick off action on a Wednesday. And then Jack Knowlton from Saratoga on New York Showcase Day. We've already mentioned a couple of his horses, but Jack and Saratoga have some runners in this afternoon as well. That all comes up top of the hour.
Speaking of Eclipse and journalism, I think Curlin might have been the first. The rotating silks. I know why they do it and everything, but you have to be a real horse racing fan because silks are so prevalent. You're watching a replay, the San Diego Derby go, then you see the previous go, it's the same horse, just different silks. But I think Curlin was the first one. He had 4 different silks worn in 4 different races. So
it is
rotational silks.
Sometimes confusing
when
you're familiar with a group that owns, and you look up and you think, well, that's not. Oh,
well, no, it is though. But it is.
9th race today. It is the Mountain Vernon State Breds, fillies and mares, 8.5 furlongs on the grass.
I like this race very much. 2, 4, 9, and I'm taking a fly. It's not a complete flyer. 8-1 on Spinning Colors, but I'm down inside. I have good, easy, early foot. John Velasquez. I think I can pull the upset here, and it doesn't get talked about as much. But I just like the fact when horses have won here before. For second, I have Midnight Concerto going out for Ken McPeak, only the second start since November. I'm throwing out the Gulfstream Park return to the races because they didn't run back off the March 22nd race. And then for third, number 9 with George Weaver and Flavian making the seasonal debut. 2, 4, and 9 in the Mount Vernon.
There have definitely been horses.
I've been to both Mount Vernons, New York and Virginia.
There have, over the years, been a number of horses for courses. There was a horse called Chicago Pro years ago. That was it was just kind of
Was
a
it up
claiming
here?
level. Yeah.
That's surprising. It's way over my head. That's good. Chicago Pro.
Yeah.
Very nice.
But like I say, he wasn't a stakes performer or anything. But also, I'll ask you if you have the same opinion. Years ago, it doesn't seem to be. It's not the same anymore. But it always was Saratoga. First few days, first couple of weeks, first week certainly. You look for the speed.
Okay.
The speed was brutal, and then it would rain, and it would get back
now. Here's the thing. I think that was a thing, but if you've noticed, the whole NYRA concept that befuddles me. I know why they do it, but when they came up here, they always ran on the hedge. Now, when they come up here, they always run with the rails out. That's what I think. I'm a believer of that being a thing, but that was the thing. Yeah, summer be hard inside, shortest distance, firm turf.
But I'm talking main track with speed.
Oh, the main track.
Yeah.
Main track has changed in my lifetime.
Yeah,
multiples.
No, the main track.
Okay.
You.
Oh yeah, first out,
few days,
first over, first home.
Then you get a rainstorm and everything would get back to maybe normal or would change. I'm 10, 9, 5, and 2. I'm going to put what Loves looks like on top. Sheepshead Bay last time ran 5th, but again gets back in against state breds. This is one of those good New York breds. Can kind of go back and forth and has done well against Open Company, but back in against state breds. Good record up here at Saratoga, so I'll go with the 10 on top. I'm very concerned about the post position, admittedly. 2 turns on the turf from the outside, but I have 2 horses on top from the outside. Brock Nardini, George Weaver trainee with Flavian Prat on board, wound up the season with a good effort. Lightly raced, I could see this one coming back and doing well in the seasonal debut, although this is a salty spot for that. An awesome check in the 3rd spot. Good close-up 2nd last time to start the season off. So for me, 10, 9, 5, and 2.
And the finale on the Mellon Turf course, or the outer, or the main, state bred maiden special weights.
I am 11, 5, 1, and 10. I thought the 4 was a little bit interesting, but another one where I'm a little bit concerned about the post position. But I thought this horse was interesting. By Oscar Performance, out of J-Ray. If you remember the damn J-Ray, she was a nice performer. 9 wins, 8 seconds, a third in 26 career starts, a graded stakes winner. Just under $1 million. She produced a sibling called General Jack, 2nd in debut, won the 2nd race, which was a stakes race. So first-time starter from Chad with a little bit of interesting breeding. I'll go in that direction. Spirit of the Law, it's Saratoga. So again, our friend Jack Knowlton, Barkley Tag. I think this horse is going to be interesting getting to the turf off a couple of good tries down at Gulfstream on the synthetic. And Sir Oscar in the 3rd spot, Graham Motion trainee, that showed nice improvement number-wise, start 1 to start 2. I'll look for that to continue here in start number 3 on the move up to Saratoga. 11, 5, 1, and 10.
I'm similar, but I took the other Oscar performer on top. And the timing for the March 14th race that Seth mentioned and the gelding symbol, that kind of fits for me. And I'm thinking, as depressing as that is for picking and betting on horses, Sir Oscar from the inside in the brilliant hands of Graham Motion is my top pick. Sir Lawrence with Irad on the outside. You think 6-1 is going to be findable on Sir Lawrence? I don't think so, just based on the connections and the pedigree.
Chad and Irad is going to.
And Oscar Performance, and then the 3. So 1, 11, 3 in what is a beautiful day and a terrific day for the New York breds, and a terrific day, I think, for the bettors and handicappers, because I'll tell you, Seth, I thought all 10 races were open. Maybe a little more conservative thought, we would say 8 of them, 7 or 8 are certainly open.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a fun day. New York Showcase Day and the New York Bred Days are always a lot of fun. Familiar faces and competitive races, so it should be fun. Anything else?
No. It can't get any better than this.
All right.
I mean,
we're off and running. Again,
yes.
Beautiful day. Come on up. Enjoy it. If not, swing by the Racebook, your local parlor, or stay tuned to OTV TV all day, including 10 o'clock. We'll be back in a couple of minutes and kick off racing across America. We're underway live from Saratoga. Stay tuned.
You're watching OTV TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.